All right, so let's jump into this deep dive on Financial Peace Revisited. We've got some excerpts here from Dave Ramsey's book. And, um, I think what's so interesting about him is this whole background. He went from being a millionaire to being bankrupt
Hmm.
and then back again. So he's really been there and done that.
Yeah, he's not just talking the talk, right?
Well, exactly.
He's walked the walk, too.
And, in this revised edition, he's going beyond just the numbers and the practical stuff. He's getting into like the emotional and even spiritual side of money, which I think is really interesting.
I agree. It's definitely a more holistic approach.
It is, and it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
He went bankrupt at age 30, and this was just a few years after building a $4 million real estate portfolio. I mean, what do you make of that?
Oh, that's a wild ride, isn't it? I think that kind of experience must have been like a crash course for him. And the power of money, but also the dangers.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a reality check.
Right. And I think it probably gave him some really valuable insights into how we think about money, how we behave around money.
So maybe that's what gives his advice that extra weight.
Exactly.
All right, so in this revised edition, he's promising 4 key takeaways. First one, getting out of debt and staying out of debt. I mean, it feels pretty universal, right?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want that? But especially given his own experience with bankruptcy, you can bet he's got some strong opinions on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
His second point is the classic KISS rule of investing. Keep it simple, stupid. And I feel like this might be a reaction to just how complex the financial world can be, especially after everything he went through.
Yeah, I think he's all about simplifying things, cutting through the noise and focusing on what really matters.
Okay, so his third takeaway is about using contentment
Yeah.
as a guiding principle for making financial decisions. This one's throwing me a little bit. I mean, how do you balance contentment with wanting to achieve your financial goals?
Well, it's a really interesting concept. I think what he's getting at is that contentment is about aligning your spending with what truly matters to you. Your values, not just keeping up with the Joneses or whatever.
So it's about recognizing that there's more to life than just stuff, right? And maybe that ties back to his experience with bankruptcy. Maybe he learned that material possessions don't necessarily equal happiness.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance of that.
Okay, so his final takeaway is about the impact of money on relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's got to be a big one, right? Especially after the ups and downs he's experienced.
Oh, absolutely. Money can be such a huge source of tension in relationships.
It can be, and I'm really curious to see how he addresses this. Does he talk about, whether financial stability is like a prerequisite for healthy relationships or?
Well, we don't get all the details in these excerpts,
Right.
but he definitely seems to acknowledge that link between financial well-being and relationship harmony.
Yeah, makes sense.
And considering his own journey, I'd imagine he's got some pretty insightful perspectives on how financial stress can impact even the strongest of bonds.
So maybe he's advocating for things like open communication, setting shared financial goals, maybe even some preventative measures to avoid those classic money arguments.
Oh, I bet that's all part of it. Transparency and teamwork seem to be really important to him.
That's really interesting, and this has already given me a lot to think about. We've just barely scratched the surface of these 4 takeaways. I'm definitely eager to dig deeper into how they all work together to achieve this financial peace he keeps talking about.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I've got to ask, does he give us any hints in these excerpts about his specific methods, like the debt snowball or the envelope system?
He doesn't get into the nitty-gritty here, but there's such big parts of his approach. I'm sure he elaborates on those tactics in the full book.
Oh, okay, so there's definitely more to unpack here. Let's keep diving into Financial Peace Revisited and see how Ramsey fleshes out these ideas and gives us some concrete strategies for finding that financial peace.
Sounds good to me. As we're digging into these concepts, it really strikes me that Ramsey's approach isn't just about, making small changes to your financial habits. It seems like he's advocating for a more drastic, almost revolutionary change in how we think about and handle money.
Yeah, you're right. It's not about dipping your toes in the water. It's about like a full-on cannonball into change. And that's where I think his famous debt snowball method comes in.
Yeah.
It's all about attacking those debts aggressively, starting small to build up that momentum rather than just, focusing on interest rates. Have you actually seen that approach work in real life?
Oh, absolutely. The debt snowball, it's not just about the math. It's really about changing your behavior. When you tackle those smaller debts first, You get those quick wins, those little bursts of motivation, and that keeps you going even when you're facing those bigger, scarier debts.
It's like you're gamifying the whole process. You get that sense of accomplishment, that feeling of, hey, I can actually do this,
Yeah.
which can be so powerful when you're trying to break free from debt.
Exactly. You're tapping into that psychology of motivation and progress. And then on the other side of the coin, you have his envelope system, which focuses on controlling your spending. Could you see yourself using a system like that? Where you actually allocate cash for specific categories, and once it's gone, it's gone.
You know, I could actually see the appeal of that. It's such a tangible, visual way to stay on budget. It's like those old school piggy banks, but for grown-ups. No more wondering where all your money went at the end of the month.
Right. It forces you to actually confront your spending habits head on. It's about making conscious choices instead of just mindlessly swiping that credit card
Yeah.
and then dealing with the consequences later.
So it sounds like both the debt snowball and the envelope system, they're all about taking back control, which aligns with that sense of empowerment that Ramsey seems to really emphasize.
Exactly. It's about being the driver, not the passenger,
Yeah.
in your own financial journey.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and go back to this idea of contentment, which you described earlier as aligning your spending with your values. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. How do you differentiate between healthy contentment and settling for less than you actually deserve financially?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's a line that a lot of people struggle with. Contentment in this context, it's not about lowering your expectations or accepting mediocrity. It's about finding that sense of peace and gratitude for what you have right now while still working towards a better future.
So it's not about becoming a minimalist and giving up all material possessions. It's more about appreciating what you already have
Yeah.
while still striving for growth, both financially and personally.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true wealth, it goes way beyond just money. It's about your experiences, your relationships, your health, your purpose, all those things that contribute to a fulfilling life.
That's such an important distinction because I could see how someone might misinterpret contentment as just being complacent or even an excuse to avoid taking financial risks or pursuing new opportunities.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's about finding that sweet spot between appreciating the present and planning for the future without getting stuck in that trap of always wanting more and more.
It makes you wonder if this emphasis on contentment is something Ramsey developed after his own financial roller coaster ride. Maybe experiencing those extremes made him realize that true satisfaction comes from something deeper than just the number in your bank account.
That's a really insightful observation. It's definitely possible that going through all those ups and downs forced him to reevaluate what really mattered to him and redefine what success actually means.
Okay, so let's move on to that last key takeaway from Financial Peace Revisited, which is the impact of money on relationships. This is a topic that can be so loaded and often leads to conflict. I'm really interested to see how Ramsey tackles this, especially given his own experiences.
You know, financial disagreements, they're one of the biggest causes of stress and conflict in relationships. It's not surprising, really, when you consider that money affects pretty much every aspect of our lives. And I think Ramsey really understands this, that achieving financial peace as an individual, it's only one piece of the puzzle. True peace of mind, it also involves creating healthy financial dynamics within your relationships.
So it's not just about getting your own finances in order. It's also about making sure that money isn't causing division or resentment in your relationships.
Exactly. And based on what we've talked about so far, I'm guessing that Ramsey probably emphasizes open communication, setting shared financial goals, and taking a collaborative approach to managing money as a couple or as a family.
Yeah, that sounds about right. He seems to be all about transparency and teamwork, not just when it comes to managing your own money, but also when it comes to navigating financial decisions with the people you're closest to. It's about creating that sense of unity and shared responsibility, rather than letting money drive a wedge between people.
And that really fits with his overall philosophy of empowerment and taking control. It's not just about managing your money. It's about managing your life in a way that promotes peace, stability, and healthy relationships.
This has been such a fascinating exploration of these 4 pillars of financial peace. We've talked about the importance of getting out of debt, simplifying investments, embracing contentment, and fostering healthy financial communication in our relationships. But I'm still curious, what does it actually look like to reach that financial peace that Ramsey talks about? Is it like a destination or more of an ongoing journey? And how does he define success in this context?
Those are some great questions, and I think exploring those further will give us a much clearer picture of Ramsey's overall message.
So we've really broken down these individual parts of financial peace, but I'm still kind of stuck on, like, what does it actually feel like to reach that state? What does it look like? Is it a destination, or is it more like you're always working towards it?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And I think for Ramsey financial peace, it's not about hitting a certain number in your bank account or reaching some like specific financial milestone. It's about feeling secure and free and just having a good relationship with money.
So less about the numbers themselves and more about how those numbers make you feel.
Yeah, exactly. It's like knowing you can handle whatever financial challenges come your way. Without freaking out or getting totally stressed, you have the resources to go after your goals and help the people you care about. And you're not constantly weighed down by debt or financial worries.
So almost like a financial Zen state of mind. Does he talk about how to actually cultivate that mindset?
Well, remember how we were talking about contentment earlier? I think that's a big part of it. It's about shifting your focus from what you're lacking to what you already have and appreciating those things.
But how do you balance that contentment with still wanting to achieve your financial goals? Like, I could see someone saying, oh, I'm content, and then just staying stuck and not taking any risks or pushing themselves to do more.
That's where being able to tell the difference is important. Contentment for Ramsey, it's not about settling. It's about recognizing that true wealth, it's not just about money in the bank. It's about having a solid financial base so you can follow your passions, build strong relationships, and live a life that matches your values.
So your finances are working for you, not the other way around. You have the control and the freedom to make choices that make you happy without being held back by money problems. That's a pretty powerful idea.
It really is, and I think that's what draws so many people to Ramsey's message. He's not just offering a way to be financially stable. He's talking about finding peace and purpose in a way that goes beyond just money.
And that all comes back to how he emphasizes the emotional and spiritual side of money too, right? It's about making financial choices that fit with your values and your dreams, not just chasing after every dollar you can get.
Absolutely, and that's why I think financial peace, it's not really a destination. It's more of a journey that you're always on. You're always checking in with yourself and making sure your choices line up with what matters to you.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. I feel like I have a totally new understanding of what it really means to be wealthy. It's not just about how much money you have. It's about using money to build a life that's full and meaningful.
Couldn't agree more. And if you're feeling inspired to learn more about Ramsey's approach, I definitely recommend checking out Financial Peace Revisited. He gives tons of practical advice. But even more importantly, he pushes you to really think about your relationship with money and figure out what financial peace means to you.
That's a great point. It's not just about the numbers. It's about getting your finances and your values in sync and creating a life that truly reflects what you want. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Financial Peace Revisited. We'll see you next time.